All right, everybody, we're going to get rolling. My name's Adam Herbst, and I graduated from here in 1999. Thank you. Appreciate that. And, one of the pleasures I have in my job is I get to work with the J Club Board of Directors. They're our athletic booster club, and they're a phenomenal group of volunteers, and I'm extremely excited right now to introduce you to our J Club president, Tom Freeman. So Tom leads our booster club. He's been our president since 2020. He's a 2008 graduate of St. John's and was a captain on our hockey team. Professionally, he's a principal with Faegre Drinker Consulting, where he helps his clients with their strategies that achieve their public policy goals. And under Tom's leadership, last fiscal year, the J Club had its strongest fundraising year ever. Without further ado, please help me welcome Tom Freeman, our J Club president.
How's everybody doing? Can you hear me okay? I don't want to make fun of Adam with that microphone move there. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? All right. So I want to thank you all for coming. I have the privilege of welcoming you tonight to the Hall of Honor Banquet 2022. All right, hey, can I get your attention, please? Thank you. There'll be plenty of time for the open bar. The last thing you want to be is the guy standing in front of it. That will be Mark Lewandowski, so I'll be just fine. Okay. It's an honor to welcome you to the 2022 Hall of Honor Banquet. We have a significant amount of Johnny Athletic tradition to go through tonight, so we bear with us. We're going to do some program. We're going to have a lot of awards and a lot of great memories to share. But most importantly, I just want to say thank you for everybody that turned out tonight. When I come back up here, it truly does feel like home. I was talking to some of the inductees. They clearly felt the same way as I do. And each time you come up here, you think about the institution, the tradition, obviously your athletic memories. And we couldn't be more honored to be here as a J Club board, and thank you for being here. Many of you know this, in 2018, the J Club Hall of Honor started with the induction of our legendary coaches, John Gallardi and Jim Schmitz. That was an incredible evening. Amen. They were our charter members, and I hope I hope that all of you have had the chance, and if you haven't, please check out the physical space that's outside the Palestra. That is a truly remarkable place that did not exist when I was on campus. It didn't exist 5 years ago, and it's going to exist for years and years beyond. But I have to thank Luke Vestrom and Dan Murphy from our board. They used a lot of their time, talent, and treasure to make that a special place. So please give them a round of applause for me. I'll just say, looking out, obviously the lights are a little bright for a hockey guy, which is saying something. I'm not concussed yet, but it's looking like it. The banquet tonight is our most attended event ever. And that is a remarkable honor as your J Club president to be here tonight. But it's remarkable because there are past inductees with us as well. I know I see Frank Wackelowitz out there. I see Jim Smith, I think, is with us. Father Wilford is down here. Terry Leindecker is trying to stop a soccer ball somewhere out there. Pat Hawes, many members of the 63 and 65 national championship team. Joe Muka, and I think Jeff Norman is here somewhere too. I'm sure I missed somebody, but thank you all for being here. I'll just say this. As inductees, you have the responsibility to pass that on to the next generation and the next group of inductees. So please keep coming back. Let's make this event even bigger. Hopefully it'll be outside. They won't even have room for us. We'll have 6,000 people here in 5 years. Thanks again for being here. Dan Murphy's going to come up and do an award now, I think. And thanks for being here. Have fun.
everyone. So we have one non-Hall of Honor award to start our evening. It is my privilege to help present the 2022 Father Wilford Tyson Student Athlete of the Year Award. But before we actually recognize our honoree, I want to recognize Father Wilford. Father Wilford, if you can give a wave. The J Club established this award in 2013, so this is actually our 10th awarding of it. And it recognizes a varsity student athlete who has excelled in the classroom and in their sport. And as a result, it's rightfully named for Father Wilfred, who was named Professor Emeritus of the Physics Department following his retirement in 2005, but he's probably more well known for being the Abbey's top Johnny sports fan. In 2019, he was awarded the J Club Distinguished Service Award at our 2019 Hall of Honor event. And it was during that ceremony that he referenced his enthusiasm for Johnny sports is because he sees Johnny athletics as a wonderful example of community spirit. And I think tonight is no better reflection of that community spirit as we honor our past, but also reflect on the tremendous athletic and academic career of our 2022 winner, Maguire Peterson of the St. John's University track team. Now, as Maguire makes his way to the stage, I'm going to read some of his accomplishments. And they read like an application for this here Hall of Honor. He's an 8-time All-MIAC performer, a 4-time MIAC event champion. He was a member of the 2-time MIAC track and field team champions, including the first ever indoor champions this past winter. In 2022, he was named the MIAC Outstanding Field Athlete for both the indoor and outdoor meets. He's a 4-time All-American in 3 different events. He's a 7-time entrant in the national meet. He's a 9-time All-Central Region honoree, and he left St. John's with 3 school records in 3 different events. And remember I mentioned that academic part? Well, he was a United States Track and Field and Cross Country Association Academic All-American. He was an MIAC All-Academic honoree. And he graduated with a biology degree and a 3.98 GPA. Pretty good. And he did all that with disruptions to a couple of his seasons, unfortunately because of COVID. But for his benefit, he has some competition years left. And he's now a student athlete at the University of North Dakota. So for us Johnny fans, we're going to have to add Go Hawks along with our Go Johnnies cheers. So please help me welcome, our 2022 Father Wilford Tyson Student Athlete of the Year winner, Maguire Peterson.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Everyone coming out. So yeah, I'm Maguire. I graduated in 2022 with my biology degree, and I couldn't be more honored or thankful to receive this award. You know, before coming up here, I was looking at the past award winners, and to be mentioned in the same conversation as a bunch of those guys is a complete honor. You know, you got names like Brady Labine, Ben Barch, Will Galach, and those are guys that I looked up to my entire time here. So to be mentioned in the same conversation is an honor. So thank you for that. A few thank yous to give out. One, my parents for being my #1 fans and support throughout my entire academic and collegiate career. They've been through it all. 2, the Johnny J Club for throwing a terrific ceremony here. 3, Father Wilfred for everything that he stands for in this award. Thank you. 4, my professors here. Believe it or not, they made studying biology fun. So That's hard to do. But 5, my athletic trainers. I know Scott is here. Not sure if Justin's here, but I'd be a broken man without them too. So thank you. My teammates, those will be my friends for life. Thank you for that. And then obviously my coaches, Joe, Jeremy, John, and Tim. Thank you guys very much. You guys were nothing short of great, and I love you guys. And also the football coaches too. They supported me throughout my entire career here too. Thank you guys for that. And one final note is, although I'm up at UND now, pursuing my MBA and competing on the track team there, I'm still repping Johnny gear every week. I get backlash for it, but yeah, I made. Yeah, good question. I started off as a high jumper here. I participated on the football team, and then I did high jump my sophomore year. Junior year, I decided to do the multis again. And then senior year, I strictly did the multis, so decathlon and the heptathlon, and then high jump and javelin. So, yeah. Thank you. But then, yeah, so thank you guys very much for coming out. Congrats to all the new J Club Hall of Honor recipients, so thank you.
And so before we move on to the Hall of Honor ceremony, I have one other special introduction. So President Tom Freeman.
All right, so we're gonna, well, real quickly, I have the honor of introducing and welcoming Dr. Brian Brees, our new president. He took over on July 1st, and he didn't know I was gonna do this, so we wanted to make a big deal out of this, okay? So he is the first ever president, obviously, of both College of St. Benedict and St. John's University. Big deal. Took over on July 1st. His wife, Dr. Carol Brees, could not be with us tonight, unfortunately. Hope she's doing well. But we're going to lower down a hoop because as a former D3 athlete, while he did play in Wisconsin, I have heard on his birthday he actually was able to dunk at his ripe age of 54. I believe I got that right. And so we're going to get a hoop down. We're going to make sure he can prove it, because I'm not sure I believe it. But in all honesty, thank you for all that you're going to embark on. We are here with you. Let us know how we can help. Once a Johnny, always a Johnny. We couldn't be more proud to serve with you, and thank you for being here. So, thank you. With that, I have the great honor to introduce the greatest radio voice in America, Mark Lewandowski, who's going to be your MC, so I can get off the stage.
Too kind, my man. You are too kind. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. All right, before we get started here, I would like to say a couple of things. For the honorees, with the exception of Troy Bagalk, this is not going to be a 60 Minutes type interview. Just kidding, Troy. Also, let's have some fun tonight. These are going to be great stories. These are awesome student athletes that are going to be honored. And those who come up here, don't be nervous. All the people out here love you and they want to hear your story. With that, let's get right to it. And our first honoree tonight is the outstanding running back, Tim Schmitz.
Tim Schmitz ranks among the very best to ever carry the football for the Johnnies. Schmitz had that rare combination of size, power, and speed. He was the perfect running back in John Gallardi's quad option attack of the mid-1970s. A three-time All-MIAC pick, Schmitz rushed for 1,475 yards as a junior in 1976, while helping lead the Johnnies to the NCAA Division III National Championship. As a senior, Schmitz rushed for 1,244 yards and earned All-American honors. He finished his career with 3,933 rushing yards, which stood as a school record for 38 years until it was broken by Sam Sura in 2015. He rushed for 100 yards or more in 21 games, the most in program history, and doubled the total of the next back. After graduation, Schmitz signed a free agent contract with the Minnesota Vikings in the fall of 1978. Schmitz performed admirably before being one of the final cuts. Welcome Tim Schmitz to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
You have nothing to be nervous about. All these people love you, especially Tom Woodward. That's why he's getting as close to us to take this picture. Tom, we show up big no matter how close you get, okay? You were a pretty superstitious player in your time at St. John's. I understand the way you like to do things got a bit disrupted as far as going to the 1976 national title game. Why don't you tell us that story about what happened?
Well, you know, being a shy, quiet guy that I am, they lost my luggage, which I can't believe because those trainers really kept care of me. They packed it and put it on the bus and did everything for me. All I had to do was show up. Well, my uniform didn't show up, and being superstitious, I went to John and I said, hey, I can't practice. I'm out of, you can't do it. Just, you don't have my stuff. I can't play. I can't practice. It's the way it's going to be. So that night he says to my parents, he goes, hey, Eileen, you got some drugs that you give to Dick to help him sleep and calm down because he's kind of an excited person? And she said, oh, yeah, I got some. And he goes, hey, go down and give it to your son. But what people didn't realize was when we played Wabash the next year, we were playing on a nice soaked field, and our cleats weren't doing much. So Mike Sanders was around at the time, and he gave me his coaching shoes. So I put them on for the game. Well, we know how that ended.
Oh, okay. Not well, obviously. Obviously, Jeff Norman hit the game-winning field goal to beat Townsend State, but there was a big play that happened before that, a fumble, and you happened to pounce on the football. Is that something you still think about to this day, how big a play that was?
Well, I didn't really expect it to be that big a play because when you get players like we had, there are so many great players and doing great things at great times, like Mark Hall doing an interception when we needed one. Ernie England, you know, sacking the quarterback when we needed one. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and so I flopped my fat butt on it.
You went to training camp with the Vikings in 1977. What do you remember about that experience?
The food. The food was great. You know, and I played with Marshall and L. Aaron Page and Tarkington and Tommy Kramer and stuff, but I didn't realize how good the food was until the next year I went out to Baltimore, and I'm sitting with Bart Jones and Greg Landry. That's name dropping for you younger people. And we're having lunch, and we're eating these soggy hamburgers and hot dogs. And I looked at Bart, and I looked at Greg, and they both looked at me, and they went, Minnesota, huh? And I went, yep.
They fed you well, better than Baltimore.
Minnesota fed so well. I mean, ribeye steaks every night. It was great. And I never gained a pound.
Good for you. Congratulations on that. And congratulations, you're now in the Hall of Honor. You'll be back up here at the end of the night, too. Congratulations, Tim. Our next honoree really needs no introduction. I mean, when you talk about institutions at St. John's, you talk about Brother Mark Kelly. Come on up, Brother Mark.
If you've spent any time around Johnny football over the past 6 decades, chances are you've gotten to know Brother Mark Kelly. Brother Mark led the grounds crew at St. John's for decades, meaning he played a key role in the upkeep of the school's athletic facilities, including Clemens Stadium. He was a big part of the decision to install the new state-of-the-art artificial turf playing surface in 2002, long before many other schools made similar decisions. He formed an endearing friendship with my father, John Gallardi, and his close connection to the football program continues to this day. For many years, he was in charge of the team's transportation, making sure buses were ready and on time. He also volunteered to pick up game day lunch bags, secure heaters, and perform numerous other tasks. But his love for Johnny Athletics extends beyond football. He has long been a regular at almost every baseball, basketball, and hockey home game, and he has helped secure sponsorships, bringing in needed funds to the athletic department. For all those reasons and more, Brother Mark Kelly is a recipient of this year's SJU J Club Hall of Honor Distinguished Service Award.
One of the institutions here at St. John's University, Brother Mark Kelly, joining us. You were head of the grounds crew for years. Is that kind of how things started, your relationship with John Gallardi and the football program?
Yes, I was in charge of the grounds for 57 years. And whenever I first arrived at St. John's, I went down and introduced myself because I went to Mara Hill down in Atchison, Kansas, a Benedictine boarding school, and the college was in Atchison. So I told John, I said, John, I know all the coaches down at St. Benedict. So after that, I became very good friends with John. And he had a great big screen for watching sports. He had nice recliners. And Peg would cook spaghetti, enchiladas, and who knows what else. So.
The eating in this state is amazing, isn't it? I mean, Tim Schmitz and now you. And what about your relationship with John Gallardi? I don't know if you can really put it into words. I know you two were extremely close.
Well, I did a lot of volunteer work with John as far as football, and one of the things that he loved for me to do was meet the Greyhound bus, because the game would be on Saturday, and the films would come in on the Greyhound on Sunday night, and as you know, the Greyhound was not very accurate. So anyhow, I became very close with the family, and it was great.
You know, I know that there have been one incident way back in 1964. You were working in a trench at the prep school, and it collapsed on you, and you were able to, with help probably, get out of that. But what a scary situation for you.
Right. Well, it happened in August 15th, 1964. We had the prep school had a tunnel going from the classroom to the dormitory, and the tunnel was leaking, so I had a backhoe out there. We had a trench about 10 feet long and 10 feet deep, and I took a shovel and rode down on the hole because it's supposed to be leaking, and just as I got down in there, the whole thing caved in on me. I had 10 feet of dirt on top of me, and my head was up against the tunnel like this, and they got oxygen to me, and it took them 3 hours to dig me out. And once they got me out, on the way to the St. Cloud Hospital, my heart stopped. And at first, I'll back up. I resigned myself. I was going to die because how am I going to get out of here? Next thing I woke up, I'm in the St. Cloud Hospital. And first thing I said is, where's the keys to my truck?
They probably didn't have a good answer for you, and they were just happy to see you alive and breathing. I know this is your night. Congratulations on going into the Hall of Honor, and I know you wanted to recognize some other people, correct?
Right. I want to congratulate, first of all, I want everybody to stand up that worked on the grounds department. You know, you people should be up here and I should be down there because you did all the work.
Somebody had to tell them what to do, though, right?
Right.
It's good to be the boss sometimes.
I want to mention Gary Flieger. Gary, stand up. Gary worked for me for 41 years, and he was my right-hand man, and he's still working, and his brother Chris took over my job. Thank you, Gary.
Any final words, Brother Mark Kelly?
I just want to say that thank the J Club for nominating me. I want to congratulate Gary and the football team. And I want to thank my relatives and my close friends for the sacrifices that you made to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Mark Kelly. Congratulations on being inducted into the St. John's Athletics Hall of Honor. We'll do one more before we break for dinner, and our next honoree and inductee is Matt Eridge from the hockey program.
A quick glance at the record book tells you all you need to know about the impact Matt Eridge had during his 4 seasons as an SJU hockey player. Eridge remains the school's career leader in points with 171 and goals scored with 91. The 33 goals he scored as a junior during the 1997-98 season ties him for the program mark, and his 80 career assists ties him for second place. Eridge helped lead the Johnnies to MIAC regular season and postseason titles in 1995-96 and 1996-97. During the 1996-97 season, St. John's advanced all the way to the Division III Final Four, finishing 3rd overall. He was named an All-MIAC and All-American selection in both 1997-98 and 98-99. Welcome Matt Eridge to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
So you were talking about those pictures from the 90s. What stands out about those pictures before we get started?
Well, apparently with VHS tapes back in the 90s, you don't get great film because they pulled the senior picture from my high school on the first one. And I just kept saying, oh boy, the 90s. Yeah, it's quite the picture.
Let's talk about your story and something I've asked numerous athletes here coming to St. John's. John Harrington didn't even know you were coming until I think you came into the first team meeting. So how did you come to St. John's?
Actually, I was going to play another year of juniors in Rochester, and August 31st, I believe, we had our postseason camp meetings, and the coach said, yeah, we're going to cut you. And I was like, okay. Luckily, I had talked to a few coaches, and so when I surprised John, he was like, I didn't think you were coming until the next year. And I'm like, well, I got cut. And this is before internet and all those types of things. So I went to the preseason meeting and met some friends, and they were just like, we thought you were coming next year. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here this year. So, I mean, it turned out to be probably the best thing that happened to me, really, to get cut. So.
Yeah, you wound up at St. John's, and things have been good ever since, right?
Yep.
Let's talk about the sophomore season. 3rd place finish in the NCAA tournament. What stands out about that year and that journey?
The first thing I remember, my dad's here tonight, we ended up having this football match, and I ended up tackling him into a big snowbank in Middlebury, Vermont. That's the first thing I remember about it, because I just remember it's probably never been I've never tackled him ever, since or before. But it was just a great experience with the guys we had. We just had a bunch of ragtag high school kids, really, and for those hockey friends around here now, a lot of kids play juniors. That was just a bunch of high school kids, and John saw something in every guy and kind of got everybody into just to buy into what he wanted to do and his culture here. And I mean, it's still going today with Coach Schuler. It's just, you get great guys, great players, and they just kind of learn how to mesh together.
Still tight with Coach Harrington?
Yep. Talk to him a couple times a month, mostly about golf now. He still swings it. He's about 30 yards behind me. So as long as that stays, he says, he's a senior tee guy now, so he's probably going to catch up. Gold tees are a lot further back than the blues, so yeah.
Yeah, true, that's true. All right, you're at Rochester. John Marshall is the head coach. What are some of the things you've taken from Coach Harrington that you've applied to your program?
The biggest thing for me was just like the attention to detail. He was like the first coach that ever structured practices like 10 minutes at a time and had drills like planned ahead of time. It was just one of those experiences where you knew his experience was going to transfer to you, and now that's what I kind of do with the kids today, is just try to give them that experience of being, involved in a program, making sure they're a part of something. And he was really good about bringing in lots of players from different backgrounds. We did a lot of like in-state, out-state games, which kind of fueled up our competition. And I just remember, looking at kids that you would never meet any other, like from Brainerd, and I grew up in Austin, and you'd never meet these kids, and all of a sudden he got 25 kids to buy into a common theme about playing for the university and playing to win. And his attention to detail was second to none, and anyone who knows him would probably say the same thing.
Any final comments as you enter the St. John's University Hall of Honor?
I wish Coach Hogan would have kept me on the baseball team a little bit longer.
It's your night, my man. You can take shots at anybody you want. Go ahead.
He's sitting right here, but apparently education majors were not allowed to miss a lot of school, and the baseball team misses lots of spring. So, no, honestly, it was a great experience for me. My parents and my brother, wife are here. Former high school coach is here. So that's it.
Congratulations, Matt. Good job, buddy. Good job. You betcha. Okay, folks, Dan, you get to come back up here and talk to the people, and thank you.
So yeah, just a couple short announcements. So we're going to start dismissing tables for dinner, so just wait until your table is dismissed. Our bar will be open kind of as we dismiss you, so feel free to grab another drink, and then we'll start the program again once all the tables have their meal. So you'll be able to eat through the last portion of the meal. Before we dismiss our tables, though, we need to bless our meal. So I'd like to introduce Father Nick Klesby, a 2006 alumnus of St. John's. He wears many hats here on campus, including a fireman's helmet at times as a member of our fire department. But more importantly, he's our university chaplain, and he's going to bless our meal. So, Father Nick.
Thank you, Dan. I was not a Johnny athlete. I was an education and music major, so don't boo me, Gary. Okay. I have a key to your garage. Your equipment could be in trouble Monday morning. But if, in my role as chaplain for the college, if I could only support our Johnny athletes in the ways that Father Wilford or Father Mark or Brother Mark does, it'd be a gift. They're some of our best, brightest students on our campuses. So let us pray. Generous and merciful Father, you've brought many Johnnies and Bennies back home this weekend to celebrate the good things you have given to all of us. In many ways, we give you thanks for those athletes and J Club members who have supported and advanced your noble mission of teamwork, care for others, and healthy living, including those included tonight in the J Club Hall of Honor: Maguire, Tim, Brother Mark, Matt, Cyril, Minga, Troy, Fred, John, David, and Mike. As we celebrate your creative and loving presence among us today, let us ask blessing upon our food, those who serve it, and we ask your help that we might more generously provide for those who go without enough to eat. On this homecoming weekend, we ask this all through Jesus Christ, your Son, our Lord. Amen. Enjoy your dinner.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to resume our program, and please continue eating and enjoying this. Before we get going, if I could have your attention, please, just for a quick second. I want to thank all of the dining and catering folks who served us our great meal. Yeah, they do a phenomenal job here. The food was excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Also, and I know he's here, and I don't know where he went, but I want to thank Frank Rakusky. He's big in this because he helps with the videos, and he's hiding or something. Hey, there you are, Frank. Let's give a nice round of Frank, because Frank wrote these stories, and they're up on GoJohnnies.com, and you can read about them, and they're really well done. And so thank you, Frank. And in fact, a great story is coming up right now as we get back into the program and talk about our track and field honoree, 1959 St. John's graduate, Cyril Paul. You're next to be inducted into the Hall of Honor.
Over the course of an over 60-year career, Cyril Paul was a fixture on the Minnesota music scene. But before that, the Trinidad native was a conference champion and record-setting sprinter on the St. John's track and field team. Paul arrived at St. John's in the mid-1950s and went on to win a total of 5 MIAC titles, including 3 straight as part of the Johnny's Mile Relay team. In his 4 years, he set school records in the 100 and 220-yard dash. In 1957, he won both events, leading St. John's to its first conference team title in 18 years. The team would win again in 1958. In addition to playing music as part of Cyril Paul and the Calypso Monarchs, he also worked as a teacher in the Twin Cities for many years, then later as a music resource specialist in schools and churches. He also worked tirelessly to promote and raise money for the Cyril Paul Scholarship Program for Caribbean students at CSB and SJU. Welcome Cyril Paul to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
You want to just stand? Let's just stand. All right, no problem. Okay. Cyril, you grew up in Trinidad, moved to the Bahamas. You were a policeman down there. And how did St. John's University get onto your radar?
Well, I played cricket in Nassau, Bahamas. How many of you here know cricket? Bloody cricket, right. Okay, it's beautiful, but Father Malachi always came when we were practicing. Father Malachi Murphy, he's from St. Cloud, Minnesota. And we got introduced at the time when he just arrived from Mexico to come to Nassau, Bahamas. So we became excellent friends. And he started talking to me. He said, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm playing cricket. And a week later, there was a nice recording of somebody wrote to the Nassau Daily Tribune. How many of you have been to Nassau, Bahamas? Okay. So you know how bright it is, a beautiful place. It's small, but lots of fun. Lots of djembe and goombe and things like that. Well, anyhow, I want to tell you that we were really having a good time, Father Malachi and I, talking about what was going on. I told him cricket is a British game, and we play cricket, and we bowl the ball, not pitch it. And we have a bat that is inconsistent to your bat. It's designed differently. It has a plastic, not a plastic, but what is it? You know, wood that bends quickly. Immediately, you whip it like this, and it bends. Cane. Yeah, has a cane top built into the wood. So that's cricket bat, not a baseball bat, okay? So anyhow, we were good friends, and we watched cricket in the afternoon. He said, sir, I don't understand it. And I said, well, fine, Father, I'll play something else that you want to see me do. But there was nothing else but soccer. And I didn't do soccer because I didn't have time for that. I was a policeman, I was on duty, and I didn't want my legs broken. I tried that. I tried it once, but, you know, the guy came with his whole body and get to the ball. And I said, you want that ball? I didn't think you would take your whole body. I said, here. And I walked away. Okay.
You accomplished a lot on your own as a sprinter, but you're also a member of some mile relay teams. What do you remember about your teammates and your time at St. John's?
Oh, it was excellent. The Hughes twins from St. Cloud, they were both lawyers, and I just understand today, I found out that one of them died. I didn't go to the funeral because nobody told me about it, but unfortunately, this man, brilliant guy. I was the key of the mile relay. I used to end the thing with a nice speed, a medium speed, and and that was okay.
You're really fast. That's what you're telling us.
Oh yes. I'll tell you about fast. I was riding my bicycle from Minnesota to California. And before I did that, let me get back to a place called the Feast of Reason. Anybody here know the Feast of Reason? Well, it's a name. If you don't know, it's a name. That's all. it's a name where all the Johnnies come to a nice place like barbecue on the first Wednesday of each month. And we did that for a long time until somebody bought the barbecue shop, and we had to move. And we couldn't find a proper place to move, and naturally we said, fine, let's find whatever we can and come together. Well, that dissipated. That sort of thing just didn't last long. Come whenever you feel like it. So people came less and less and less until Jim Bassett, Tom Daly, Don Hall, all people, friends of mine at the table there, we decided we can continue getting together because it's a fun thing to know friends. Don't you think so?
Very much.
We did that, and we did that regularly. We still do it. Thank you.
Final question for you. Yes. Musical background, very important to you. Can you talk about getting your start as part of Minnesota's centennial celebration back in 1958?
Yes. In 1958, I was studying, and then the abbot came through and said, Cyril Paul, would you take a walk with me? I said, fine. Well, Cyril, you are going to, when we got outside, Cyril, how are you doing? How is school? Fine. Preliminaries, always preliminaries. You know what's coming. He said, Cyril, I want you to represent St. John's. What do you mean, Father? I say Abbot. Not Father, Abbot. He said, well, I want you to represent us. I said, well, how will I do that? He said, well, anything you can do. You can do anything. Don't ask me that question. Just do it. So I got 5 guys, and I started to teach them calypso music. Like the drums, and you're shaking and baking. You get on. Right. Well, I got 5 boys, white American students, thank you. Yep. Sorry. White American students at Collegeville who didn't know bloody thing about calypso music. So I taught them how to the tone and the rhythm. I had to teach them the tone and the rhythm. And I said, like, for example, down the way where the nights are gay and the sun shines daily on the mountain top. You know what I mean? There's a rhythm there. You feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Let me see you shake a little bit. Down the way where the nights are. I'm not saying your shoulders. I said shake your whole body. Come on, get that body moving. Down the way where the nights are gay and the sun shines daily on the mountain top. And so on. Okay, fine.
And the group had fun.
Yes.
Cyril, congratulations and welcome to the St. John's University Hall of Honor.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next honoree comes from the wrestling program. Well represented, Mingabatsuk.
St. John's has been home to numerous national champions over the years, but Mingabatsuk is the only Johnny athlete to accomplish that feat 3 times. The standout wrestler won the NCAA Division III title at 141 pounds in 2009 and in 2010. Then he captured the national championship at 149 pounds as a senior in 2011. Batsuk, who was born and raised as a nomad in Mongolia and came to the United States to attend high school in New Jersey, qualified for the NCAA meet 4 years in all and finished his career with a record of 88-19. As a senior in 2011, he compiled a record of 27-1 and was named the nation's outstanding wrestler at the Division III level by D3Wrestling.com. Welcome, Mingabatsuk, to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
Mongolia to St. John's. How does that happen? What was the story? How did you get to Collegeville?
Well, I'll try to give you guys a short version of the long story. 2003, Wrestling World Cup took place in Madison Square Garden in New York. And all the teams that placed top 10 in the World Championship came to compete against each other. In the Mongolian team, my coach was the head coach for the national team, and they came over, and St. Benedict's Prep High School in Newark, New Jersey, was responsible for handling the Mongolian national team.
Okay, and then from St. Benedict's to St. John's, some kind of connection.
That's another short version is that St. John's guys went to New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, to compete at the national championship when I was in high school. And they came to use our wrestling room. I was in the wrestling room, and they came with the 5 guys, and I worked out with some of them. I met Coach Novak, and he asked me to apply to St. John's.
Always recruiting. That's our guy. Always recruiting, Brandon Novak. 3 national titles, incredible run. What match do you remember the most of the ones you won on the way to the national championship?
Well, there was many matches that that meant taught me a lot of lessons. But I remember my first, as a sophomore, winning the national title. I was number 4 seed in the nation, and I had Austin Batista from Whitewater in a semifinal, number 1 seed. That was probably one of the hardest match I had my entire career, because in order to beat him, I left I could not walk after that match back to, it was a 4-2-3 match probably, and he was so good. Like he was a returning probably national champion, and I had to beat the champion to become the champion. And that was probably one of the memories that I remember, and the coach told me just keep fighting, and I left everything on that match, and rest is history.
Well, yeah, history, but how much confidence did you gain from that win? I mean, I would imagine you take down the champ, the number 1 seed, you had to be thinking, nobody's going to beat me now. I just beat the best guy here, right?
Well, yeah, that was the hardest match probably I had. In the finals, it was a lot easier than what I expected, and everything else. Losing as a freshman at nationals in the quarterfinals to the eventual champ taught me something. And I sat down with coaches, Coach Novak, Coach Schmitz, talked about what my weakness is, and they gave me, okay, you're just a high school kid, out of just fresh out of high school, and you're competing against grown men. You have to, get strong, and that's what I had to do, get in the weight room and, get big and get strong. And we put out the whole program together, and, all through the summer, I worked out to become the champ.
Now you're back in Mongolia. How are you staying connected to the sport of wrestling, or are you? What's going on back there?
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm back in Mongolia. I actually was hired by somebody out of New York 3 months before I graduated here. And that's the benefit of going to St. John's, right? You were hired before you graduate. Yeah. I worked for an investment fund out of New York City, for their investment fund in Mongolian mining businesses. And I've been doing that, and then also at the same time I'm trying to, give back to the sport of wrestling as much as I can. So me and my buddy Mogi have a gym working with 5 to 14-year-old kids, and I coach him freestyle wrestling. He coaches jiu-jitsu, and yeah, we have a new gym going, and also working with a Wrestle Like a Girl NGO from DC, and it's invented by one of those first woman wrestler for U.S. and Olympian. And we're working the exchange program together between Mongolia and U.S. to give back to the sport. Especially we empower women through sports, especially wrestling. So that's something that I'm just taking the time out of my schedule to give back to the sport that have given me everything. And yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Sounds like you're doing great work. Okay, one more question. And this came from your coach, one of your coaches. Okay. Who is your favorite coach of the two that you had?
Scott Fernholz. Yeah! My favorite right there, Father Don. I haven't seen you in a minute. Father Don, I love you.
Thank you, Minga. Congratulations. Welcome to the Hall of Honor. Sorry, Schultz, you lost. All right. Congratulations again to Minga. Our next honoree comes from basketball. Troy Bagalk.
No matter what level, one thing remained consistent about Troy Bagalk. He helped make every team he played on successful. That was certainly true at St. John's, where Bagalk was named MIAC Most Valuable Player as both a junior and senior. He finished his career with 1,568 points, a total that still ranks third in program history. And he led the Johnnies to 1 conference regular season championship, 2 MIAC playoff titles, and 2 NCAA Division III tournament appearances. That included a trip to the Sweet 16 during his senior season in 2001. After being named to the MIAC All-Rookie team as a freshman, Bagalk was an All-MIAC first-team pick 3 years in a row, a great leader and a tough competitor. Welcome Troy Bagalk to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
You know, yeah, MVP. We'll talk about that. I can't kick them out. They paid to be here. I'm sorry. Anyway, a lot of Division II schools wanted you, but you came to St. John's. And what made your decision to come to St. John's? How did you decide that?
Well, I don't know why I'm going to give these guys credit after that, but I knew some guys coming here from AAU. I liked the campus. Obviously, it's a great spot, but the biggest thing for me was the coaching staff. Saw Trevick, saw Elper, saw Coach Smith, and it's the people here, right? That's why we're all here, and I wanted a chance to win. And Coach Smith is the head of this thing that I got the chance to play for the best coach in Minnesota history. Coach, back in 1999, when I came in, everybody's running 2-post offenses. Get it into the post, right? Bang on. Coach in 1999 put in something called an offense where all 5 guys were outside of the perimeter. That wasn't done back then. We called it spread. And you should have seen the first few times these other teams in the MIAC were playing us. Their posts would go to the block. There's nobody down there for you to guard. Our posts are sitting out there laughing. It's an automatic 3. So, I mean, he knew the game like the back of his hand. The other thing about Coach did is if you're part of his program is you respected you. I don't care if you got the most amount of minutes, the least amount of minutes, you're the statistician, the athletic trainer, the announcer. If you're part of Coach's program, he respected you. And the third thing he did as a player, he just trusted you. He wasn't the type of coach that was down your throat nonstop. He'd make it clear in practice what he expected, and he let you know, if you made a mistake in a game, he let you play through it. But Mark, you better not make that mistake again. And the last thing Coach also did for me is he expanded my vocabulary. I remember the first few times I got out there as a freshman, I'm just sitting out, don't screw up, Troy, get out. And Coach, when he doesn't get a call, hey, ref, get over here. Okay, so I'm standing from me to that TV screen away. I want to hear what Coach is saying. These are heated conversations, and there's some colorful language going back and forth, coaches. And I'm seeing there's one of 2 things going to happen. Coach is getting kicked out or teed up. Every single time, Coach would turn around, walk back to the bench, the ref go the other way, and I said, I'm keeping those words in my vocabulary. I like those. So thank you, Coach, for that, too.
Okay. You know, I guess Pat hasn't learned those words because he hasn't been teed up yet. Do you know that? Pat has yet to get a tee.
Well, he's learned the same thing Coach did. He never got teed up either.
Right, exactly. Okay, that's a good lesson to learn. At St. Thomas, playoff game, 3-pointers. Is this the, that's why I'm the MIAC MVP? That is a great story. It needs to be told, my man, and this is your night.
No. You know what you remember about that game is when you're walking down the hallway to take the court and the gym is rocking, it's going to be a fun night. My teammates, we dominated them from the beginning to the end at their floor, and that was just, for me personally, it's just, I got lucky. The hoop looked like a bathtub that night. And, but boy, you know what, before we go in out of the locker room that day, so we came in up 10, whatever, we're jacked up, coaches talk outside the locker room, they come in, Coach Schmitz trying to get us back to earth, right? We're just running around. Before we left that locker room, Coach Elpers says, save me a snip, which means sharpen those scissors because St. Thomas Nets are coming down tonight.
And they did. That was an amazing game, and you guys played well. Now, come on. You were taunted by the Tommy crowd, and you hit a 3, and you came back down, and they were taunting you again, and you turned to him, and you hit another 3, and you turned to him, and you said, and that's why I'm the MIAC MVP, correct? Come on now.
Maybe.
Don't leave me hanging.
Maybe.
Senior season, Sweet 16. What do you remember most about that team? There were a lot of great guys on that team I know you're still close to today.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I remember about it is my teammates and my coaches. We had a heck of a run and should have probably with another bounce or two made it a lot farther, but that's what this is about. You come up here, you get a chance to win. Your teammates are great people. Basketball is a team game. This thing is a team award, in my opinion, and that's what it's about. So my teammates were the best I could ask for. My coaches were the best I could ask for, and I just want to thank everybody that showed up here that I know tonight. I know you took time out of your schedule, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. Congratulations. You are in the Hall of Honor. Our next honoree is being done posthumously. Fred Kramer, 67 graduate from the football program.
Those who knew him best say Fred Kramer never liked to boast about his own accomplishments. But the list of what the two-way lineman achieved during his 4 seasons on the football field at St. John's speaks for itself. Kramer was a key contributor on the 1963 Johnny squad that won the school's first national title. 2 years later, he started on both sides of the ball as SJU won its second national title. Kramer's play in that matchup earned him the game's Outstanding Lineman honor. The Illinois native was an All-MIC and All-American selection 3 seasons in a row from 1964 to 1966, and he was picked in the 12th round of the 1967 NFL Draft by the Minnesota Vikings. But Kramer took a pass on pursuing pro football in order to get started on an over 30-year career as a teacher and coach in his home state. He passed away at age 67 in 2012, but his Johnny teammates still remember the large role he played in the first golden age of St. John's football. Welcome Fred Kramer to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
Sarah, thank you for accepting this on behalf of. Talk to us a little bit about his time at St. John's. Did he talk to you much about his years in Collegeville for Coach John Gallardi?
Absolutely. I mean, from the time I could walk and talk, I knew St. John's. I knew Coach Gallardi, who was a mythic figure in our household. And I knew the names of Gillum and Ford and Traxilis and Muka and Ford and Cher and Sharkey and Hennessy. And, you know, these names were so important in our house. And, I never really understood the importance of it. but in terms of the love and the pride he had in those teammates and his time here was huge.
Now, he passed up a career in pro football to teach and coaching, which, you know, coincidentally, it kind of took a lesson right out of John's book right there. So obviously it was very important to him. John must have made a big impression on him.
Oh, gosh, I can't say how much. How important he was to this small-town boy from Illinois who came up to Minnesota, who got to go to California and to Augusta, Georgia for these national championships. I think I asked him once, when I was older, I found all these letters from NFL teams, and I was like, oh my God, why didn't you do this? And he said, I had 8 great years playing football in high school and at St. John's for this amazing coach with these amazing teammates. He said, it wouldn't get better than that. That was the best, that was enough for him. And I think he thought he could do other things, and teaching and coaching was what he found and a passion he found there.
Well, congratulations to Fred and you and your family, and it's a great honor, and congratulations on making it into the SJU Hall of Honor.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, our next inductee into the Hall of Honor from the swimming and diving program, John Haben, graduate 1969.
The list of firsts John Haben compiled during his 4 years as a swimmer at St. John's is awfully impressive. The standout from Wilmer was the first Johnny to touch the wall as an MIAC champion when he won the 50-yard freestyle at the conference meet as a freshman in 1976. 2 years later, he became the first SJU swimmer to touch the wall as an All-American when he finished 10th in the same event at the 1978 NCAA Division III National Meet. All told, Haben won a total of 8 MIAC titles before his career was done, and he qualified for nationals 4 times. Welcome, John Haben, to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
And my apologies there. John Haben, our next inductee into the Hall of Honor. Congratulations, first of all. Pat Hawes calls you a blue chip recruit. That's what he said. What do you remember about the recruiting process and the full court press he probably put on to get you here?
Well, it was probably better advice then than he gave me tonight. He said, don't be nervous. So, yeah.
You don't be nervous. Everybody loves you. We want to hear your story. This is your night.
Probably the most important thing that came out of the recruiting process is the lifelong friendship the Haben family has had with Pat and Mary Ann. So from that first visit, it really started something special. Wilmer basketball team was playing Little Falls back in '74 up in St. Cloud, and Pat was recruiting a couple of seniors from the Wilmer swim team, and I decided to come up with them. And he said, bring your suits and we'll do a couple laps before we head into the basketball game. So I came from a pretty small 5-lane pool, really cloudy water, to walking into a brand new palestra. And I think most of the swimmers can appreciate that the beautiful pool that is, the 8 lanes and crystal clear water. So it was quite easy to see me as that as my new swim home. So the palestra really sold it, but of course having Pat as a coach was there up there as well. So yeah.
You were the first MIAC swimming champion for St. John's. What does that mean to you?
Well, there's a few firsts. Pat taking on the swim program with about 2 years worth of experience, maybe. Pat, have you learned to swim yet? No? Okay, so. And the success he had you look up at the banners and the All-Americans, it's quite a list. So he was really the first true pioneer in the swim program, and coming in and seeing his enthusiasm, the confidence he had in you, and the expectations of working hard, having a bit of fun, and having success. And it was those expectations of becoming MIC champions and becoming All-Americans, it was he led the charge, so it was something that could be accomplished. A couple of other firsts, though, Mark, that you might not be aware of. I was the first Johnny swimmer to shave their head. The shaved head is more of a style now than it was back then. And another first that involved Pat, that he was the first St. John's coach in history to see one of his swimmers go flying off a trampoline, catching the vertical upright, twirling down like a fireman, and landing safely on the pool deck. And Pat, if I get the story right, there was a padlock on the trampoline the very next day, so that was another first of Pat. Oh, and the words he spoke after that probably wasn't the first time he said those words, but it might have been the first time he said it with such great enthusiasm. So yeah, a lot of firsts.
Really? Pat? Really? He would say that? No. Come on now. You're kind of here at St. John's in a kind of golden age of Johnny athletics, of course. You know, the football team championships, and you roomed with, I guess, Frank Walk-LaRoitz, and we all know the success of the basketball program. So, you know, what was it like being on campus at that time? It was kind of maybe the campus of champions, kind of.
Yeah, it was. For those that were around there, that mid-'70s, late '70s, it was a blast to be a fan. Whether you're sitting on the courtside watching Frank and Pat McKenzie win all those games, or sitting on the hillside in the Nature Bowl and watching such great teams come through in that late '70s. Going down to the soccer pitch was such a great program with the Lillys out there, and Tim Ruckavina, who I think is here too. So, or venturing into St. Cloud to watch a hockey game or two, it was pretty easy to be a fan with all the success that the SJU community was having at that time. So, you know, very easy to be a fan, a lot of fun. And it was the '70s. Yeah.
Really? Okay. All right, well, I'm going to leave that one go right there. John, congratulations on making it into the Hall of Honor. Did you have one more comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, just to thank the J Club and the Alumni Office for such a great event, and of course all the support that I got through my swim career. My parents, Earl and Marla Saban, are here. They're 90 and 91, so thank you. And of course my family that's here today to help me help this be a special day for me. So lots of thanks to go around.
That is so cool that your parents are still here to enjoy this honor. Congratulations, John.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. Thanks.
John Aben, now into the Hall of Honor. Thank you, sir. Our next honoree comes to the track and field program. David Lamb, graduate in 1968.
In the mid to late 1960s, Dave Lamb was the fastest man in the MIAC. The St. John's track standout won the 100-yard dash at the conference meet during his first collegiate season in 1966, but finished second in the 220 after a stumble slowed him down. After that, though, he didn't finish second again, winning MIAC titles in each event in both 1967 and 68. He was also a two-time qualifier for the NEI National Meet. The school records he established in the 100 and 200-meter dashes lasted until 2018 and 2022, respectively. Welcome Dave Lamb to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
Wow. I got to tell you, Jim did a nice job narrating that, but I think the most impressive thing there was your records lasting as long. I mean, when you set them, did you think, well, they'll get broken a few years from now, maybe? Or, I mean, that's an incredible feat right there that they lasted that long.
Yes.
Were you surprised?
I was shocked, yes. Usually expect records to be broken every few years. And part of the advantage, though, was that when I set the records, it was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that year they had the Olympics in Mexico City. So they were trying to run similar things, metric distances rather than yards, like we were using. And they had it in Albuquerque because of the altitude to match Mexico City. So the air was pretty thin, and it was hot. And so I set the records in the 100 and 200 meters just because nobody else had ever run it. And it was probably years before they ever switched from yards to meters up here. So they lasted for a while anyway.
Somebody's got to be first, and it's you, and you should be proud of that.
Thank you.
What can you tell us? Your son, also a St. John's graduate, you named him after two men who are pretty important to you, Jim Korf and Jim Smith. What made you do that?
Well, Jim Korf was the coach at Mankato Loyola, and he convinced me to go out and be a sprinter. I had asthma or allergies. I couldn't really run that much. But he borrowed an oxygen tank from a welding company, scrounged up a mask, and I was supposed to catch my breath after running. So I didn't collapse. So his name, yes, Jim. Then how many of you honestly know that Jim Smith was a track coach? Not too many. Well, he had come here in '64, I think, and I came in '65, and he had a meeting for the people who might be interested in track. And he admitted that he really didn't know that much about coaching track and field. In fact, he did admit that he threw the shot put and discus in high school. That was the extent of his track background. But he said that he would learn how to coach it and that he would be there for us at the practices, and that was important. So I became a sprinter and owe it all to the Jims of my life. And Jim Smith, thank you. I don't think I would have been an attorney without the confidence that I gained by success in track. So,
athletes tend to learn more from failure rather than success. And I understand there was a meet where you came in second to a Hamlin runner, and you vowed never again to be number 2 in an event. And this story comes from Jim Smith, so obviously maybe he said something that inspired you as well.
Well, I guess I'm amazed that Jim Smith remembers 54, 55 years ago, not only that I got beat, but who it was that beat me.
He remembers all. You remember the wins, but sometimes the losses stand out a little more.
But what he didn't say is that I had just run the 440 in the meet. Back then, they used to run the quarter mile and immediately follow it with a 100-meter dash or 100-yard dash. So you have to finish, and I won the 440. And go back and pick up your starting blocks and try to get ready to run 100. Now, Terry Larson is the one who beat me. He edged me. We had the same exact time, but he outleaned me. And
sounds like you haven't forgotten this either.
He never beat me again, and neither did anybody else in the conference.
There you go. Excellent, David. So you brought up the racing in Albuquerque in 1968, finished third at the NAI National Meet. Is anything else you remember besides the heat and, of course, the altitude that was at that event?
Well, I do remember the trip down there. With the huge track budget that we had back then, Coach Smith decided to make it a family vacation. So his wife Adrian, 5 or 6 children, met me and picked me up and drove me to Illinois. to drop off some of Jim Smith's kids. And we drove then from Illinois all the way down to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Got there the day before the meet. I remember, stiff as I was, air thin there, I jogged down the infield and I thought I was going to die. It was horrible. I didn't make it to the finals of the 100 even. But I do remember that the guy that won my preliminary heat tied the world's record at that time. So the competition was good. So mainly I was surprised that I placed in the 200 meters, which was run a day or two after that. And so I was shocked.
And you got kind of a family vacation out of it, too. Family you didn't know you had.
Yeah, got to know them.
David, congratulations and welcome to the Hall of Honor at St. John's. Thank you. You bet. Our next inductee into the Hall of Honor is done posthumously as well, and we're going to honor Mike Lilly, class of '78.
The St. John's soccer team was certainly respectable in its first 7 seasons, but when Mike Lilly arrived in the fall of 1974, the Johnnies reached a whole new level. During his 4 seasons, Lilly led St. John's to a record of 38-9-1, including a MIAC title and 2 NAIA District 13 championships. A 4-time All-MIAC and All-District pick, Lilly was also named to the NAIA Area 3 All-American team as a senior in 1977. He remains the program's top goal scorer with 62, including a single-season record of 20 in 1976. He passed away at age 41 in 1997, but the tradition of success he helped establish in the Johnny Soccer program lives on to this day. Welcome Mike Lilly to the SJU J Club Hall of Honor.
What a day for the Lilly family. You have Mike going into the Hall of Honor. You had Michael Wozniak with 2 sacks today at the football game. I mean, quite an emotional day, I would think, for the Lilly Wozniak families.
Yeah, it certainly is. We gave a little gift to the football team here, sending Woz out there. So
He is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, but well, the other thing too, first with Minga, how do you win 3 national titles in wrestling? I mean, wow.
Just amazing athletic talent going in tonight, including Mike Lilly.
Yeah, and the other thing, just a side note, played a little soccer on the side with 2 nominees here tonight, John Haben and Tim Schmitz. We would have welcomed either of them onto the soccer team if they weren't so darn good at what they did. And I don't think Pat Haas would have let Haben play, so.
Probably not. Obviously, the soccer program was pretty respectable before Mike arrived, but things really picked up. Can you kind of describe his effect on the program from your standpoint?
Yeah, so growing up, we played, my dad was a Johnny, and he played baseball and football up here, so we played the sports that he played, and basketball as well, and then when we got to high school, we switched that over to soccer, hockey, and tennis, and Mike also played tennis at St. John's here. But Mike's passion was with soccer. And so his freshman year, he comes up to St. John's, did not even know if he could play college soccer. But my folks went down to see the game, and they saw him get out of the van. They go, well, that's a pretty good sign. He's at least on the traveling team. So Coach Sikich decides he's not going to start Mike. So, but he put him in early in the game. And the Johnnies ended up winning the game 3-0. Mike, the freshman, has all 3 goals. Wow. And finished out the year with 17 goals, 14 assists, which is, part of 31 goals. I mean, most teams don't score 31 goals, And he never stopped. I mean, he up until he was age 41, he was still playing soccer and still scoring goals. And
his 62 goals is, nobody has matched that number in 44 years since he's graduated in the MIAC. So he's second all-time in the MIAC in goals, which is just spectacular. I mean, they're Wayne Gretzky-like numbers, you know, so.
He had 7 goals in one game against St. Mary's, clinched the conference championship with that performance. What was it like watching him on the field that day?
Well, that was awesome. He probably should have had 12. He hit the post, he hit the crossbar. He did score 8, but we had a guy off sides. St. Mary's is a really hard place to play because there's no direct route to Winona from here. So you're spending the first half just trying to get your soccer legs going from the bus ride. And they're just scrappy, but they had a plan. They were going to cut the field in half and give Mike no room. He had like 12 breakaways. And they didn't change it at halftime. There was no change, and we're all like giddy. We're winning the MIAC title that day, and he was just pouring goals in, just pouring them, and it was just awesome. But probably the greatest game. Well, Mike had so many good games, but just 2 games prior to that, we played the Tommies really to win. We were pretty much tied with 2 games left, and we're playing the Tommies on their field. And the crowd was just hostile. And Mike buried a goal in the 80th minute, so we got 10 minutes left to play. Could have been the most glorious 10 minutes of my life. Smoking the Tommies on their home field with a hostile crowd to really put us in the driver's seat to win the championship that year. And so Mike's freshman year, the Johnnies went to they finished second, went to the district finals, and they won it, and they went on to the national tournament. His junior year, we ran the table, went undefeated. We won the MIAC and then went on to win the district title, went to the national tournament. And like I said, he's such a big part of the team, but he's also one of those guys that really didn't think he was that good. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but he was just a total team guy. I mean, you know, for me to be up here saying these numbers is kind of hard because he would never have shared that with you.
Your dad, Leroy, great St. John's football player, one of the first guys I met connected with the program and one of the strongest supporters. You and your brother played soccer. Your sisters played at St. Ben's playing tennis. Michael, we just talked about the All-American defensive lineman. The connection to St. John's, obviously it's happened over decades, you know, but how did it become just so strong right from the start where you guys, you know, where Leroy said, I went there, you should go there, and now the pipeline has continued?
Well, being Leroy Lilly's kid, as you know, we have 5 of us, you were born into St. John's and St. Ben's, so, you know, that was just the way it was going to be. But Leroy was in the Korean War, he was in the Marine Corps, and came back and didn't have a whole lot of doors opening for him, but St. John's opened the door for him, and he never forgot that. And
Pat, I want to thank you for coming up tonight and accepting the Hall of Honor award for Mike Lilly. Thank you, Pat. Okay, folks, it's time to honor the team that we send into the Hall of Honor. Members of the 1976 St. John's National Championship football team. I think you guys are in the house. Come on up. Any way you can make it up.
The St. John's football program has won 4 national championships, but the 1976 Johnnies did it in the most dramatic fashion. After jumping out to a 28-0 lead in the 4th quarter of that season's NCAA national title game against Towson State, the Tigers scored 4 unanswered touchdowns to tie the score. But St. John's got the ball back one last time and engineered a game-winning drive capped by a 19-yard field goal by quarterback kicker Jeff Norman as time expired. The Johnnies were fueled by John Gallardi's newly devised quadruple option offense. In all, St. John's averaged more than 360 yards rushing per game, while allowing its opposition an average of just under 13 points per contest. 8 players earned all MIAC honors on a team that finished unbeaten in conference play and 10-0-1 overall. Welcome the 1976 St. John's football team to the Jacob Hall of Honor.
Hold on. Hold on, we're missing somebody. We're missing somebody. Jerry Hogan, come on up here. The guys want you up here as one of their coaches of that team. Greg Miller as well. Greg? Okay, I'm just getting these names late. That's all I'm. Greg, come on up. We have time. Dave Arnold? All right. We're adding. Nothing wrong with this. That's what makes St. John's a community. Jim, first question for Jim Roeder. You guys started out the year with a tie against Minnesota Morris. What did that do for you as far as maybe refocusing and you know, how did you learn from that game going forward?
Well, the main thing that we learned from it is that Minnesota Morris was a very good football team. We found that out, and they had beat us. The year before, our only loss in 1975, and we played them extremely tough. They were a very, very good team. They were actually the best team that I had faced until the championship game against Towson. And I think we felt that, we were a very good football team, and we had a long way to go.
Well, you guys had a great journey. I'm looking for Brad Eustis now. Come on up, sir. When did you guys know that it wasn't just about winning a conference championship, that there was a national run that could be made with the talent on the field?
The game I remember turning things around was St. Olaf, but that's because that's the first game I remember that year. My dad had died in the fall, just before the season started. I was suffering a severe depression all season long, and I finally got the nerve to ask John to let me play the last game of the year. I found myself starting as a slot back, something I'd never played before, but I was so excited. Too excited. I jumped offside by about 10 yards on the first play. And so I enjoyed most of the first half from the bench, cheering everybody on. And then Tim came off with a holding his side, calling me to go in for him. And I immediately understood why. St. Olaf had put 2 of their meanest, toughest Olies in captivity right between the guard and center, and their job was to smash whoever came there and disrupt our option. And thanks to Tim, I got a chance to redeem myself. We went on to win going away, and then I remember the excitement building every game after that through the playoffs in terms of how wonderful everybody continued to play, and we all got more and more confident. And the road to the championship was just a wonderful memory.
All right, now I'm looking for Joe Wenzel. Hey, Joe. What stands out about the win over Townsend State? What do you remember from that game?
Well, I want to say one thing first. There's 2 guys who didn't make it here. Tim Fristrom, who you all know, who played baseball, who I think with one other guy or 2 other guys our freshman year. Now, remember, we had 100 guys. You weren't playing if you were a freshman. And a couple guys had Bloody Marys on the sidelines. And even though they had on, I think Tim was, and 1 or 2 others. So this was a team of guys who always kind of had fun together. The other guy was Mark Griffin, who we had a special get-together. Was it 3 years ago now? I think it was 3 years ago now. We're outstanding young men, good guys who are not here with us today, unfortunately, but they're in our prayers. The other thing is, we were talking about the Townsend game. This is a team kind of, what do you call it, award or entry. I can't think but what other guys have come up here, individuals have said. They have a Pat Hawes, a Jim Smith, other guys who are coaches. We had John Gallardi. And what all these coaches taught us is you had to be leaders. Leaders win. And that's kind of what we did. We had great leadership. Not 3 captains or 4 captains or a senior or this thing like that. But as John would tell you, when he put a guy out there who played, a starting quarterback, a cornerback, whatever it is, he said, I teach them during the week, I let them play the game, because they're going to be neurosurgeons, venture capitalists, lawyers, professionals. So therefore, he always taught leadership. I know Jim Smith, a good friend of mine, talking to him about basketball, even though I couldn't play. I talked to him, and it was the same thing. And Pat Hawes, who I've known for 52 years, 55 years, would say the same thing. It was all kind of leadership. So when the special teams were out there in that championship game, the whole year you look at their record. Tommy Bernardson kicked so well, guys covered so well, the average opponent started the ball on the 19-yard line. You looked at the defense, we had 3 playoff games, no scores against the defense till the 4th quarter of the championship game. Then you said, okay, this offense was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, look at Tim Schmitz, the records he got, because the offensive line, the quarterback, I guess, and Tim did run well. Anyway, but no, it was just all that. It was all the kind of that leadership. And so when you ask the question, what did we think of when, shit was hitting the fan, excuse me, but it was 28, there was nervousness, but not really. There was a calmness on the sidelines, because we knew a pass would go to Jim Roeder to bring it down. We knew that Tim and Jeff, those knuckleheads, would fumble the ball, but somebody would get it. We knew that Scott Becker, because we heard this off campus, he had the best hands that he'd get the ball, set it down right. Jeffy Norman would kick the ball through. You had a guy like John Ringley, who was a starting tight end, gave up that position to be the tackle. So Mike Grant could be the tight end. You have Dave Groven, who's about this tall, this round, and he just tore up a kid from St. Thomas who was all God in his world. You would look at this thing, and John would run the film back and forth, just doing everything but eviscerating this all-star linebacker. So you had all kinds of guys like that. So it was that kind of leadership, 11 leaders on offense, 11 leaders on defense, 11 leaders on the special teams whenever they were out there. So that's the sort of reason why we won a national championship. We weren't worried. We knew we were going to win it. It was just a matter of somebody had to do something.
Okay, with all these great guys on the team, wait a minute, we're not done. What was the celebration like afterwards?
Well, I remember John Welsh coming up to me on the airplane going, blankety blank, blankety blank, John took my drink away from me. Why do you have a drink? Well, it was such celebration. And you've got to realize football is an insane game when you think of all the injuries. Terry Sexton started as a freshman. He couldn't play. You had other players step in there who couldn't play, who were injured. Jimmy Roeder on crutches. You had other guys on crutches. And it was just a difference. And the other thing I think as a John-ism, so we had the week before the game, the day before we had the banquet with the Union players. Unions, and John said, or the Union coach got up, or not Townsend, excuse me, got up and said, well, here, I want to introduce my coaching staff. So if half of you people would stand up, that would be equivalent to their coaching staff. And then John said, hey, Hogan, stand up. No, Hogan, stand up. Greg Miller, Dave Arnold, these guys, there were 4 coaches. Brother Mark, well, Brother Mark was already standing up. And so it was that sort of guys, I mean, Jerry we just played with the year before. Greg Miller 2 years before. It's that sort of thing that St. John's sports is kind of all about. Jim Smith, all the years he was here, Pat Hawes, all the years here, all these guys, Jerry Hogan is, you look at these guys who helped develop what we have here at St. John's University, second to none.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to the 1976 national champions. You gentlemen are now in the Hall of Honor. Stay up here? Okay. We got rid of the chairs, I think. Sorry, Bob.
Hey, can we get slide?
And now we'd like to introduce our athletic director, head golf coach, Hall of Famer, Bob Alpers.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to move away because I don't think you'll be able to hear me as they're chirping up here as they're getting organized for the picture. What an amazing night. And as Tom Freeman, our J Club president, mentioned at the beginning of the program, largest crowd we've ever had for the Hall of Honor. And it's just, it's such a thrill for us to be able to hear these, tell these stories. You guys and all the other inductees tonight, you are the history of St. John's Athletics. We're so proud of you. We're so proud to be associated with you, and we're so grateful for everything that you've done for St. John's. What I'd like to do right now is, in addition to we're going to get ready for a class photo right now. So all the other inductees, if y'all would stand up and come on up towards the stage, all the other inductees. We're going to have, and while they're doing that, I'm going to get a chance to answer another question. There we go. Keep coming. You got to come up. Here they come. One of the questions that we've been getting tonight has been, how do people get nominated? How does this process work? Well, the way it works is you have to be a member of the St. John's J Club to nominate somebody. It's a real easy process. You just go on gojohnnies.com, you go to the J Club link, and you can sign up and become a member of the J Club. If you do that, then you can nominate somebody, because in addition to these wonderful stories that we heard tonight, we have so many more to tell, and we could really use your help in telling them. Yeah, I think we can move that too. Can we get Dave up there? Can I? If I give you, let's have another hand here. Let's get Dave up there too. Oh, all right, we got him. Don't lose anybody. Okay. And while we're getting this ready, and while we're doing this real quick, before we get the pictures, and we'll give you plenty of chance to take the pictures, I just want to do a couple things real quick. Before he wanders away, can we give our good friend Mark Lewandowski a great round of applause for volunteering and being our MC tonight? We've got some other thank yous to do too. Tom mentioned it before, Mark mentioned it before. Frank Rakusky, who works in marketing communications, he wrote all the stories, he made all the videos, he produced all the videos, he added the music to them. If we could give Frank, make it so loud that if he's not here, he still hears it. It was unbelievable what he does. The entire institutional advancement and alumni relations staff here at St. John's for their incredible hospitality, tireless efforts. They're usually in the back of the room trying to stay out of the way, but if we can give all of them just a huge round of applause. None of these events on campus happen with those great people, without those great people. If we could have all of the Johnny coaches that are in attendance stand up. All the Johnny coaches that are in attendance stand up. We see him here, we see him there, we have stuff like that. These coaches do a spectacular job. If we could have all the past inductees stand up, if we could have all them stand up, we're going to give a big hand to all the past inductees to the J Cup Hall of Honor. And before we get to the picture, I am going to do this piece again. We can't say enough, the J Club is a volunteer organization. And we've just got an incredible group of people that are the leads to this J Club. None of this stuff happens without their leadership. Our president, Tom Freeman, is over there. We'll have him give a wave. He started off tonight's program. Dan Murphy over there in the corner, he helps write this whole program that we do. And Luke Vestrom's out here in the crowd someplace too. And Adam Herbst in the back, who told me not to mention him. But he's kind of our spiritual leader and does a hell of a job with all this stuff. Thanks everybody so much for coming out and celebrating the history of Johnny Athletics. Thank you, inductees, for all the wonderful work that you've done and all that you've done for St. John's. And everybody, come on up and take some pictures now. Good night. Go Johnnies.